Hello, welcome to Treasures of Knowledge with Kimberley. This is your Come Follow Me companion to the studies of the Old Testament this year. And last week we discussed Moses 7, and it was just one chapter, and we talked about Joseph Smith's revelation on the location of the Garden of Eden. And we also discussed why wasn't Enoch's son Methuselah translated with the city of Enoch. This week we will discuss largely Noah. However, there's so much great material in this week's lesson. I am going to need to do multiple videos to cover it all. So this video, we'll talk about the ark and where it was built and where it landed and why does it even matter. In a future lesson, we'll discuss the scripture in Matthew that says that the last days will be like unto the Noah's days. And I hope to do a future lesson on Nimrod, the mighty hunter in the Bible and the Book of Mormon. So before I can talk about where the ark was built, I must go to Genesis 8 and start there, where it says that the ark landed on Mount Ararat. Many religionists feel or believe that the Garden of Eden was located in the same area. However, I tend to believe that the ark was not tethered to the location it landed, and that since Noah and his family were on the ark for 365 days, it likely was not built in the same region that it landed. And of course we know Joseph Smith's revelation on the location of the Garden of Eden was founded in the Americas. And I discussed this in our previous video on Moses chapter 7. And it is my belief that this is the same region of the world that Adam and Eve's family inhabit after they leave the Garden of Eden. So that leads me to where the ark was built, and that is in and around the area of Jackson County, Independence, Missouri. Do you ever ask yourself, why does it really matter? I'll talk about this in just a moment. However, I want to point out the thumbnail picture that I have used for this lesson. It is a photograph that my brother-in-law, Shane Long, allowed me to use for my YouTube channel. And though this picture was taken early morning in Moraga, California, as I look at it, it just is Garden of Eden-esque to me. And so I used that today. However, when I was looking at photos of the region of the Missouri area, I come across some beautiful photos of the Ozarks. And I'm going to leave a link to a photo down below for you to look at as well. And this photo is even more reminiscent of what I would imagine the Garden of Eden to be like. And as I started looking at this area of our nation and reading about the Ozarks, it made me think about in Genesis 2 how the verses of scripture say that there were 4 rivers that flowed out of the Garden of Eden. And so I started wondering about the lakes and bodies of water around this area. And I came across another link that I'll share with you and find it very fascinating to look at. And in Genesis 10, we read that the world was divided. And essentially what this means is the landscape of the earth changed during that time. So of course, the land of Missouri isn't what it was when Adam and Eve lived there, of course, and is the beautiful region of our nation. Now, why does it even matter where the ark was built or the Garden of Eden was located? As we look to the Book of Mormon, it talks about the land that Nephi inherits and the Jaredites was to be a land of promise. And it was an act of providence that God preserved this land for special people at a special time. Our nation is relatively young and was established on principles of political freedom, but also religious freedom. This freedom carved the way for the for our Father to bring back the gospel of Jesus Christ on this earth in the last days. And the establishing of the gospel here will pave the way for the New Jerusalem to be built on the American continent. As we look at the people and the lands in the Old Testament, we begin to understand and see God's plan for his children in a more granular manner. We see it in such great depth, and then we realize how masterful and omniscient God really is. He has this plan for his children because he loves us, and we can see that so clearly in the Old Testament as we understand more of the pieces to his puzzle. Please watch for my next video on Noah and on Nimrod, and the mighty hunter in the Bible and the Book of Mormon, and we'll see you next time.